Okay, well, hi friends, Doc South here. Wanted to thank listener Bob for inspiring me or giving me the idea for this next video blurb. Bob sent a rather neat little thing to my Facebook page. Let's see, I think it was late August. You'd have to look in the late August postings. But it's a video the phone company made many years ago. Oh my gosh, probably around 1955, 57, something like that. Uh, Describing the change from the old-fashioned phone where you dealt with an operator down the street to get your local calls, your calls out of your town. Yeah, you had to go from doing that. They were showing you how to go from doing that to operating a dial phone. A dial phone. Yeah, no, a dial phone. There was actually at one time phones didn't fit in your pocket. They were actually kind of big. Yeah, there were dials on them. Right. It was a little dial, and you had to know how to work it. Right. There was a right way and wrong way, of course. And anyway, Bob sent this video. It's about 10 minutes, and it's long. It's about 10 minutes long, and I got to say, it's a pretty cool video. And I thank you, Bob. And it reminded me of, oh gosh, when dial phones came to our town. I remember I grew up in Chester, New Jersey, and oddly enough, in Chester, there's Bell Labs, Bell Telephone Company had this property, acres and acres, where they tested telephone poles and I guess did other stuff. There's various, I think, radio telescopes and I think, I don't know, there's all sorts of hush-hush stuff there. Of course, us kids would be playing around in it till they'd see us and give us the boot. And we used to like the sleigh ride on one of the hills in that, one of the highest hills around, Telephone Hill. You had to slide in between the telephone poles. And the grown-ups used to, it was this massive area full of telephone poles. People would ask, newcomers to town, they'd say, hey, what's up with all the telephone poles out on the hill approaching town from Mendham? And we'd tell them, oh, it's a tank trap. Well, it would be. It would have been a great tank trap. All these poles. I guess they were testing what amount of creosote did you need in a telephone pole so it didn't rot away, that kind of thing, yeah. And then they had, like I said, other things going. Some of it, from what I gather, quite hush-hush. I know they had a thing, they had one assembly they made where it looked to me like it was a spot where I guess they could test and train for laying transatlantic cables. They had a way where you could, I guess a crew could learn or study how to let underwater cables slide down a slide and into the ocean. Right. Stuff like that. Yeah. It must have been a cool place to work. It was an even cooler place to play. When no one was looking, and like I said, it was kind of fun. Well, one day in grade school, I was probably in sixth, maybe Mrs. Gallagher's seventh grade, and we get a word that the rumor had it that we were going to go to an assembly. An assembly was called. It wasn't the day for an assembly, but one was being called, and it was the phone company wanted to talk to us. And of course, all us guys and gals who dug sleigh riding and stuff started thinking, oh boy, oh geez, the jig's up. They're gonna, they probably got photos. We're all going to jail. Oh my God, something we were looking as we're walking to assembly to our certain death. We're looking to see if the squad cars were there with the paddy wagons. And we're getting kind of worried. And now we sit down in the assembly fearing the worst, and I don't know, our principal gets up and looks. He was always looking at us kind of stern anyway, and he okay, boys and girls, we have some representatives from the phone company and they want to talk to all of you. And we're thinking, oh, God, we're all going to jail. We looked, one of us looked outside, see if they're building like an electric fence around the Chester Public School. No, the grade. No, we just didn't know what was going to happen. gosh, if it's a federal offense, maybe they're talking firing squad or something. Anyway, we were kind of worried. And with that, he said, I'd like to now introduce Mr. Smith from the phone company. He wants to, like I said, he wants to talk to you about a very important matter. Mr. Smith, please. And he comes up and says, well, hi, boys and girls. How are you? You know, he's like, yeah, he was sort of like he was, like one of the, like on a quiz show. Yeah, one of the MCs. He was a very good announcer, public speaker. He was telling us a few jokes. We figured, well, any minute now he's going to send in the cops, and he's got photos, and the police are going to walk through the area and amongst us and grab the worst offenders, make an example of us. In any case, but no. He says, could I have the curtain, please? And I guess the gym teacher opens up the curtain, and there on the stage in the spotlight was a big dial phone. Yeah, I think it was made out of cardboard. Yeah, I don't think it was a real. Yeah, but it was a dial phone. It was a phone with like a pyramid base. It had like a dumbbell on top. That was the headphone. The headpiece, the headpiece and the mouthpiece, earpiece, mouthpiece. And a big fat round thing that we soon were told was known as a dial. And he said, boys and girls, a new thing is coming to your town, a new invention. The telephone has been improved, where now you will not have to make your calls by way of the operators who have worked hard for you downtown in the phone company office. In every town, there was one of these offices. And what you did back then, you didn't have a dial on your phone. You just basically picked up the receiver on the phone at your house, either a table model or a wall model, and you would tell the operator, I'd like an outside line for Morristown. Here's the number I want. You'd tell her the number, and she'd get it for you. Or you would say, if you were calling locally to maybe one of your pals, you'd say, I'd like 307J, please. For me, that was my friend Joe. Okay. And you'd call up Joe, see if he wanted to go sleigh riding or go play ball or whatever. Okay. So he said, that is all now ending. You'll be able to do all this, the work of an operator, from your home. And he showed us he says, may I have a volunteer from the audience? And some kid was dumb enough to raise his hand, and up he goes. He says, and I think he asked for a tall kid because it was a big phone. Didn't want, the kindergartners coming up. That wouldn't have worked for them. So he gets, like a 7th or 8th grader. Forget who. Wasn't me. Oh, no, I didn't raise my hand. Oh, no. And so any case, he says, this is a dial phone. From now on, your phones will all be assigned a number, 3 digits, 3 numbers or letters, and then followed by 4 numbers that will be your phone's personal number. And it's going in one ear and out the other. But he says, now here, say you want to call, say your friend, if you look in the phone book, and he shows the brand new phone book that's coming out, he says, if you take notice, the numbers on the, and he had like a little diagram of what a phone book page looked like, and you could see a name, address, and then there was 879-4068. 879-4068. He says that's the number for your math teacher, Mrs. Gallagher. Right. And like that. And what you did, he said, now what you do is you pick up when you want to make a call, perhaps not to Mrs. Gallagher, but to one of your friends, you'll look up their phone number. You'll eventually remember it. They're designed to be easy to remember. And you'll pick up, you'll hear a hum, you'll hear a and that's the dial tone. That means it's time for you to dial. And then what you do is you stick your finger in the hole, you move it clockwise. You made a point of saying clockwise. He says you can't really move it the other way, just clockwise. And you put, say the first number is 8, okay? 8. You move it over to the little finger stop. Do you see the finger stop? And then you pull your finger out, and the phone will go back. The dial will turn back, yeah, to its original position. Okay, that's 8. Then 7. You put your finger in there, around, pull it out. Don't let your finger go with it, because you'll throw the phone. Yes, the phone won't know. You'll be moving the dial too fast or too slow, and it will disrupt the phone call. It will confuse the computers. I think that's the first time we heard computers. Yeah, or the system. And so we're working on, and it took. We a few kids had to come up and give it a whirl. You know, some kids did it right, some did it wrong. Again, most of the older kids didn't want to really, while we were in our early teenage, we didn't want to be embarrassed. We knew it all anyhow. and there you go. We had that was our assembly. It took about 45 minutes to explain that to us. I know nowadays, kids would, that they'd be sound asleep. Yeah. and I guess what he was describing would seem like 200 years ago in the past. Well, you get right now, it was 60 years ago. It's a pretty long time ago that those phones came. And it was, of course, we all got home. We started dialing each other. Yeah, it was kind of, hey, I think I dialed. I got it to work. Joe, what do you say? Joe, yeah, he says, that's all right. You hang up. Let me call you. And back and forth. And actually, it was kind of a cool thing. And and I guess there was ways to call outside of your area. We were trying that, just calling anyone. Yeah, got some guy out in Las Vegas. Hey pal, yeah, and it was just really an amazing thing. We felt so modern. Yeah, we did, and yet, yeah. Now again, greasy kid stuff compared to what the kids work with now with their, oh my gosh. And the thing is, our phone was, I'd say about the size of 3/4 of a loaf of bread. And now what? Now what do you got? You got these things that aren't much bigger than a checkbook. And I guess you even have some that I guess stick on your ear. Is that right? It's amazing. Just amazing. Anyway, that's how we communicated back in the day. It was just after smoke signals and tom-toms. Right. Actually, I did have friends. I lived close enough to, not in Chester, but I did have friends where we actually used, to communicate, we used, he lived next door. We used string attached to juice cans. Right. What you could do is a string on one juice can, run the string out to your friend's house. He had a juice can. Yeah, no, juice actually used to come all concentrated. You still see it in the supermarket, in the antique section of the supermarket. You open up the can. It's smaller. It's like a little juice glass. Yeah, like that. And what you do is you knock a hole in one end. Of course, take the metal part out of the other end. Leave the metal part in the other opposite end. Punch a hole in it. Run a cord with like a button in it, or a bolt, and the cord goes out, and say 100 feet to your pal's house, and they do the same thing on their end. You could talk, and if you pulled it tight, you could talk into the can. They'd be back at their house with the can to their ear, and you could back and forth. When it was your turn to listen and their turn to talk, you just reverse, position. Worked rather well. Yeah. I know, honestly, it did. It worked just fine. Anyway, those were days of long ago, I guess, but I just thought I'd rekindle the memory. Okay, so there you go. Share this with your grandparents. They'll like it. Yes. Okay, Doc South here, and that's it for now. Thank you again, Bob.